Hey Treehouse, this is The Wall by Gloria Evans. We're going to read and then we'll discuss in our pods. The Wall. I don't know when I first began to build the wall. I suppose it was when it occurred to me that I could keep people out of my life by building it. The wall would be a boundary, a kind of protection. At first, I saw my wall was only knee high. It was really quite a nice wall. The wall was so small some people didn't notice it. Others saw it and would just step over it and come very close to me. I found this very uncomfortable, so I built the wall higher. This was really much better, but there are still some people who would come and rest their arms on the wall while talking to me. Some stayed too long and some were not my kind of people, and some said things that bothered me, so I decided to build the wall even higher. I became so absorbed in my wall that I found little time for anything else. I searched all over the place for new and different stones. The design was very important to me. I would build and rebuild until it was just the way I wanted it. Some stones were so dear to me that I polished them carefully several times a day. One day, I realized the wall was so high I no longer saw anyone go by. I no longer heard anyone. Everything was quiet. "Is anyone there?" I yelled. No answer. It was dark and quiet and lonely inside the wall. It was the day the flower fell at my feet that I began to cry. I ran to the wall and climbed to see who had thrown it over, but by the time I reached the top, no one was there. I returned to the flower and sat for a long time, looking at its beauty. I began to see the foolishness of my wall. A flood of tears brought me to my knees. "Oh, I am so alone," I cried. "My wall is too high. Won't someone please help me? Please." The strange thing happened. In the loneliness of my walled life, God broke in. I knelt and wondered that God would come to me. I wept for joy that I was not alone. For days I stood in the joy of his presence. God had watched me build my wall and waited patiently for me to see that it was all worthless. God slowly showed me how to remove the stones that kept me from others. "This stone is jealousy. You must remove it," he said. Sometimes I would be reluctant. For days I would protest. God wanted me to remove all my favorite stones: fear, resentment, self-pity, pride. These were the stones I had cherished for years. Gently, he helped me remove the stones one by one. One day, we had removed one of the heavier stones. A hand suddenly came through the opening. "Take it," God said. Hesitantly, I took the hand, and for a long time I stood in the warmth of the grasp. Somehow I knew the hand. The person extending it had been waiting for an opening in my wall. Hunger and longing for human comfort began to stir in me. I knew then that God wanted me to let other people into my wall. A part of me wanted to allow it, but another part of me cried out in fear. Why couldn't I just be alone with God? His presence was enough. As we removed more stones, I began to look through the open places, and I could see things I hadn't noticed in a long time. Ladybugs, sunbeams, blades of grass. The world was beautiful outside my wall. One day I looked across the way and saw another wall builder. He had started building his wall. I saw the pain and hurt in his face. In sadness, I watched him build. Soon his wall was so high, I could not see him. My heart ached because I knew it was dark and lonely inside. I called to him, but he could not hear. In desperation, I looked about outside my wall. If only I could give him a gift to ease his pain. I looked down at a small flower at my feet. Hastily, I plucked it and threw it over his wall. Then I felt a great peace inside. I knew that soon there would be an opening in his wall, and I could grasp his hand. So it was that I started reaching out. Sometimes I would wait beside the wall, sometimes tossing a flower, sometimes grasping a hand. There are days I really feel like rebuilding my wall, but I talk to God and I am strengthened. It is strange, but I am beginning to recognize others like myself. When I see someone with a flower, I know it will be thrown over a wall. Sometimes I see someone standing by a wall, sadly watching a wall builder. I know that God is with that person too. We see each other and great love passes between us. I see peace in their eyes and faith in their hearts, and I know that someday everyone who is trapped behind a wall will be rescued, and we will all reach out to each other in love. This is The Wall by Gloria Evans. Thanks for listening.